Before you ever see $1 million in your bank account, you must become a millionaire in your mind. Money doesn't chase luck. Money flows to value. And value is created by how you think, decide, and act every single day. Here's the truth most people miss. Two people can have the same job, the same salary, the same city. One builds wealth, the other builds debt. The difference isn't the economy, it's mindset. The lens they use to see opportunity today. We're switching that lens. I'm going to give you 7 wealth switches to turn on wealth mode. Simple, repeatable, and measurable. No fluff, no hype. Just systems that compound. You'll learn how to stop chasing money and start creating value. Money can't ignore. See problems as profit in disguise. Build educated confidence so you act without waiting for perfect conditions. Replace lucky breaks with repeatable systems. Install wealth reflexes, tiny habits that make smart moves automatic. Raise your standards and focus so time works for you, not against you. Lock in a millionaire identity that guides every decision you make. This is not theory. This is a mental operating system. Flip these switches, and your daily choices will start producing different numbers. By the end of this video, you'll have 5 micro drills you can do today, a 3-minute opportunity scan, a 48-hour micro test, and a nightly review that quietly multiplies your results. If you're ready to stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like a creator, if you're ready to trade random effort for systems, then lean in. Wealth mode starts now. Every fortune begins not with dollars in a bank account, but with thoughts in the mind. That's the secret most people overlook. They chase money, but never examine the mindset guiding their decisions. And because of that, money slips through their hands as quickly as it comes. Think about it. 2 people can stand side by side with the exact same resources, the same salary, the same education, even the same neighborhood. Years later, one is free, building assets and creating options. The other is drowning in debt, exhausted by bills, and constantly stressed about the future. The difference isn't fate. The difference isn't luck. The difference is the way they think about money. The employee mindset says, I trade hours for dollars. I spend what I earn. I hope for a raise someday. The millionaire mindset asks, how can I multiply value? How can I make my money work while I sleep? How can I design systems that grow on their own? That small shift between spending and multiplying, between consuming and creating separates mediocrity from prosperity. Wealth begins as belief. Your financial reality today is a mirror reflecting your past thinking. That truth may sting, but it's empowering, because if thinking built your current reality, new thinking can build a new one. Here's the first rule. Wealth begins as belief. If you don't believe wealth is possible for you, it never will be. If you think abundance belongs only to the lucky or privileged, your actions will reinforce that story. But if you begin to believe wealth is the natural byproduct of creating value, you open the mental door for opportunities to flow in. Belief creates behavior. Behavior creates results. When Napoleon Hill said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, he wasn't speaking in poetry. He was stating a law of human performance. The wealth you see outside is nothing more than the echo of thoughts rehearsed inside. From consumer to creator, most people are trained from childhood to be consumers. They're taught to chase comfort, buy the newest gadget, upgrade the car, show off the lifestyle. They think money is for spending, and the faster they can spend, the more successful they feel. But the wealthy think differently. They don't see money as a tool for showing off. They see it as seed capital. Every dollar is a seed that can either be eaten or planted. One choice satisfies you for the moment. The other multiplies into future harvests. This explains why two people can receive the same windfall, a tax refund, a bonus, or even lottery winnings, and have completely different outcomes. One spends until nothing remains. The other plants seeds, turning a temporary gain into a long-term foundation. To think like a millionaire, you must shift from consumer consciousness to creator consciousness. Instead of asking, "What can I buy with this?" ask, "What can I build with this? What value can I create that multiplies the power of perspective?" One of the most overlooked millionaire traits is perspective. When average minds see a problem, they groan, complain, and walk away. When wealthy minds see a problem, they lean in. Why? Because problems are opportunities wearing work clothes. Think about Uber. The problem was simple people hated waiting for taxis. A wealthy mindset asks, what if we connect riders and drivers through an app today? It's a multi-billion-dollar company. The same problem existed for decades, but most ignored it. Only those with opportunity lenses saw the fortune hidden inside. Here's the test. The next time you face a frustration, long lines, poor service, inefficiency at work, pause and ask, what's the opportunity here? What solution would people pay for? That single question has launched entire industries. Wealthy habits start small now. Let's make this practical. Thinking like a millionaire doesn't require millions in the bank today. It begins with daily micro habits that rewire your reflexes. Automatic saving. Every time income enters, set aside a portion, no matter how small. You're telling your brain, wealth grows under my command. Opportunity scanning. Spend 5 minutes each day identifying one problem you noticed in your environment. Write it down. Train your mind to see opportunity everywhere. Value first thinking. Before you spend, pause and ask, is this purchase consumption or creation? Does it multiply or disappear? These tiny drills don't just affect your wallet, they shape your identity. Over time, you stop identifying as someone chasing money and start identifying as someone directing money. Educated confidence versus fear. Here's another truth. The wealthy aren't fearless. They feel fear like anyone else. The difference is they develop educated confidence, the courage that comes from knowledge, preparation, and perspective. Most people ask, what if it fails? The wealthy ask, what if it succeeds? That single reframe shifts your energy from paralysis to possibility. Confidence grows from study. Read biographies of self-made entrepreneurs. Analyze how they spotted opportunities. Notice the patterns in their decisions. Each story builds a blueprint that reduces fear and expands courage. Your first millionaire thought. Here's the challenge I want you to take today. Write down one area of your life where you've been thinking like a consumer. Maybe it's spending every dollar you earn. Maybe it's buying comfort instead of creating investments. Then, flip the script. Ask yourself, if I thought like a millionaire here, what would I do differently? It might mean starting a side hustle. It might mean investing in a skill that multiplies your earning power. It might mean redirecting a small habit like turning daily coffee money into a savings account that funds your future projects. The point isn't the size of the action. It's the shift in identity, because once you make one decision like a millionaire, it becomes easier to make the second, the third, the 10th. Before long, you're no longer imitating wealth, you're embodying it. So remember, your bank account is a mirror of your mindset. If you want to change the reflection, you must first change the thoughts producing it. Belief drives behavior. Behavior drives results. Thinking like a millionaire begins with these foundations. Believing wealth is possible for you. Shifting from consumer to creator. Training your eyes to see opportunity in problems. Building micro habits that align money with multiplication. Developing educated confidence to act despite fear. This is chapter 1, the foundation. Because until you master your mind, no amount of money will stay in your hands. But once you do, even the smallest seed can grow into a forest of abundance. Most people spend their entire lives chasing money without ever stopping to ask, what is money? Really, they see it as paper, coins, numbers on a screen. They treat it as the goal, the prize, the end game. But millionaires know the truth. Money is not the goal. Money is the tool. The moment you redefine money, your entire relationship with wealth changes. Instead of being enslaved to money, you begin to command it. Money as energy. Think of money as energy neutral, powerful, and responsive. It flows toward value and away from waste. It multiplies when directed with intelligence, and it evaporates when handled with carelessness. This is why some people always seem to get lucky. Opportunities appear, doors open, money flows in. It's not because the universe favors them, it's because their thinking channels energy toward creation, not consumption. They've trained themselves to see money not as something to spend, but as something to grow. When you hold a dollar bill, you're holding potential energy. That bill can disappear instantly at a restaurant, or it can be planted into a small business idea that multiplies into thousands. The choice is always yours. And here's the part, most people never realize your decisions about money are always a reflection of your beliefs about money. The psychology of spending versus investing. Let's return to the story of the two neighbors who received the same $10,000 bonus. One saw it as a ticket to comfort an upgraded car, a new liability, more monthly payments. The other saw it as a seed, an investment into a weekend pressure washing business. Both made decisions instantly, almost unconsciously. Why? Because decisions about money aren't about logic, they're about psychology. The first man's belief was, money is for comfort and consumption. The second man's belief was, money is for creation and multiplication. Their outcomes weren't random. They were predetermined by their mindset. That's why I say your financial future is written not in your bank account, but in your mental software. From scarcity thinking to abundance thinking. Here's where most people stay trapped, scarcity thinking. They believe there's never enough, so they cling to every dollar with fear. Ironically, this fear drives them to spend impulsively, as if to escape the anxiety money creates. Wealthy thinkers live in abundance. They know money is constantly flowing in the marketplace. Every day, billions of dollars exchange hands. Their question is never, is there enough? It's always, how can I position myself to receive more by creating more value? Scarcity says, I can't afford it. Abundance says, how can I afford it? Scarcity says, opportunities are limited. Abundance says, opportunities are everywhere if I train my eyes to see them. Scarcity says, if someone else wins, I lose. Abundance says if someone else wins, it proves winning is possible for me too. That one shift from scarcity to abundance rewrites your destiny. The wealth multiplier formula millionaires live by a simple formula. Money is the result of three forces working together: the value you create, the leverage you use, and the time you allow for compounding. Value means solving real problems for real people. The bigger the problem, the bigger the potential payoff. Leverage means using systems, people, or tools, so your impact expands beyond your own two hands. Time means letting compounding work its magic. Wealth doesn't explode overnight. It grows through consistent, disciplined planting. Most people focus only on the money itself, ignoring the formula that produces it. Millionaires focus relentlessly on increasing value, building leverage, and respecting time. Reprogramming your money beliefs. Here's a powerful exercise for you. Take a blank page and write down every money belief you inherited growing up. Maybe you heard money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. We can't afford that. Better play it safe. Now, beside each one, write a millionaire reframe. Money doesn't grow on trees, but it does grow in value creation. Rich people aren't greedy. Many are generous problem solvers who created opportunities. We can't afford that yet. But how can we play it safe? No, play it smart. Play to win. That single exercise is like upgrading the software of your mind, because remember, you can't build wealth with broken beliefs. Money loves clarity. Here's another millionaire truth. Money loves clarity. Most people are vague about their financial future. They say things like, I just want to be rich someday. But vagueness repels money. The wealthy are crystal clear. They set definite goals. They know exactly what numbers they're targeting, and they design plans to hit them. Napoleon Hill called this definiteness of purpose. Without it, energy scatters. With it, energy concentrates. If you want money to flow to you, get specific. How much do you want by when? For what purpose? Write it down. Review it daily. Build the habit of clarity. And you'll be shocked how quickly opportunities align with your vision. Breaking the employee mindset. This may be uncomfortable to hear, but it's essential. The employee mindset is the greatest financial trap of modern society. It conditions people to trade hours for dollars, to think in terms of security rather than possibility. Now, there's nothing wrong with being employed, but there's everything wrong with thinking only like an employee. Millionaires might work jobs, but they don't limit their minds to jobs. They think like owners. They think like creators. They ask, how can I create a system where money works for me instead of me working for money? If you want to think like a millionaire, you must break free from the illusion that security lies in a paycheck. Real security comes from knowing you can create, innovate, and multiply value anywhere, anytime. So let's bring it together. Money isn't paper, it's energy. It flows where value is created. Your psychology determines whether you consume money or multiply it. Abundance thinking opens doors. Scarcity thinking slams them shut. The wealthy live by the formula, value times leverage times time. Money loves clarity, and clarity creates attraction. The employee mindset keeps you trading hours. The millionaire mindset frees you to create systems. The choice is always yours. The moment you stop chasing money and start understanding money, everything changes. Because millionaires don't just have more money, they have a different relationship with money. And that relationship is available to anyone willing to shift their thinking. If there's one superpower that separates the wealthy from the struggling, it's this, millionaires. See what others overlook. They look at the same world. You do the same headlines, the same markets, the same challenges. But while most people see problems, millionaires see opportunities waiting to be transformed into value. This is what I call the millionaire's lens. It's not about having sharper eyes, it's about having a trained perspective. Problems in disguise. Every fortune is built on a problem. Amazon was born from the frustration of limited bookstore shelves. Airbnb grew from the challenge of expensive hotels. Uber came from the irritation of waiting for unreliable taxis. Those problems weren't hidden. They were in plain sight. Millions of people experienced them, but only a few looked at them through the lens of opportunity. That's the first lesson. Problems are not obstacles, they're invitations. If something frustrates you, annoys you, or slows you down, chances are it frustrates thousands of others. Solve that problem, and you've created instant value. Training your eye for opportunity. Now you might be thinking, but I don't see opportunities like that. I'm not an entrepreneur. The truth is, opportunity sight is a muscle. And like any muscle, it gets stronger with exercise. Here's a drill for the next 7 days. Carry a small notebook or use the Notes app on your phone. Every time you notice a frustration, long lines, poor customer service, inefficiency at work, write it down. Don't judge it. Don't try to solve it immediately. Just record it. At the end of the week, review your list. Ask if someone solved this problem. Would people pay for it? You'll be amazed at how quickly your brain starts shifting from complaining mode to creating mode. Millionaires train this reflex daily. They don't just live in the world, they analyze it. They see the invisible opportunities hiding in the obvious, the power of curiosity. Here's another millionaire trait: relentless curiosity. While most people accept things as they are, wealthy thinkers constantly ask, why is this done this way? Could it be done better, faster, cheaper, smarter? They dissect everyday experiences. At a restaurant, they wonder about supply chains, margins, and customer turnover. On an airplane, they think about logistics, ticketing systems, and how different price tiers drive profit. They don't just consume, they study. This habit of curiosity compounds because once you start asking better questions, you begin seeing answers others will never notice. Opportunity loves preparation. But here's the catch: opportunity alone isn't enough. Opportunities are everywhere, but only prepared minds can act on them. That's why millionaires invest so heavily in learning. They read books on investing, study biographies of entrepreneurs, follow market trends, and analyze patterns. When opportunity knocks, they don't hesitate. They're ready. Think of it like surfing. The ocean waves are constant, but only the surfer who trained, studied tides, and practiced balance can ride them. Everyone else just watches from the shore. That's why I say opportunity doesn't belong to the lucky, it belongs to the prepared. Shifting from consumer to producer. Most people approach life as consumers. They ask, what can I get? Millionaires approach life as producers. They ask, what can I create? A consumer says, that new app is cool. I'll download it. A producer says, that app solved a problem millions had. What problems can I solve? A consumer says, This restaurant is great. A producer says, what system did they design that makes this experience so smooth? See the shift consumers react. Producers create, and creation is where wealth lives. Your environment shapes your lens. Here's a hidden truth. Your environment trains your perspective. If you spend time around people who complain, gossip, and blame, your mind defaults to negativity. If you spend time around people who brainstorm, innovate, and build, your mind defaults to opportunity. That's why millionaires protect their circles. They surround themselves with other thinkers, learners, and builders, not because they're elitist, but because they know environment is contagious. Ask yourself, who are you around daily? Do they spark ideas or drain energy? Do they see possibilities or only problems? If you want to sharpen your millionaire lens, upgrade your environment from fear to action. Let's address the elephant in the room. Many people see opportunities, but they don't act. Why? Fear. Fear of failure. Fear of looking foolish. Fear of wasting time or money. But millionaires have a different relationship with fear. They see failure not as a dead end, but as tuition payment for real-world education. Every failure carries a lesson that improves the next attempt. Think of Thomas Edison, who famously said, "I have not failed. I have just found 1,000,000 ways that won't work." That's the millionaire lens in action, reframing setbacks as stepping stones. The next time fear whispers, "What if it fails?" reply with, "What if it succeeds?" That one question can flip hesitation into courage. A practical millionaire habit. Here's a simple but powerful exercise, the opportunity question. Every night, before bed, write down one question. What problem did I notice today that could be turned into an opportunity? Do this consistently for 30 days. At first, your answers may feel small, like a more efficient way to organize your desk. But over time, your brain sharpens. You'll start noticing patterns, inefficiencies, and possibilities that were invisible before. This single habit has launched businesses, side hustles, and life-changing ideas. So let's review the millionaire's lens. Problems are invitations, not obstacles. Opportunity sight is a muscle. Strengthen it through daily practice. Curiosity creates insights where others see nothing. Prepared minds capture opportunities. Unprepared minds miss them. Producers create. Consumers only react. Environment shape perspective. Choose wisely. Fear is tuition, not a prison. The world is overflowing with opportunities. Every frustration, every inefficiency, every complaint you hear is a seed of potential wealth. The question is, will you see it? Remember this, the difference between ordinary people and millionaires isn't the number of opportunities they encounter. It's the number of opportunities they recognize and act upon. When you begin to see the world through the millionaire's lens, you realize something profound. Opportunities aren't rare. They're everywhere. The rare thing is the mind trained to see them. If there's one thing that keeps people trapped in mediocrity, it's fear. Fear of losing money. Fear of failure. Fear of being judged. And yet, millionaires feel fear too. The difference is how they respond. They don't wait for fear to vanish. They build something stronger, educated confidence. Educated confidence is not blind optimism. It's not the kind of reckless courage that throws money at every shiny object. It's the confidence that comes from knowledge, preparation, and experience. It's knowing that while risks are real, you are equipped to handle them. Fear shrinks. Confidence expands. Fear has one job: to keep you safe. But here's the problem. Safe rarely leads to wealth. Safe means clinging to paychecks, spending instead of investing, and waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives. Millionaires expand where others contract. When the average person sees a downturn, they pull back. Millionaires study the market, prepare their moves, and often step in when everyone else is retreating. Why? Because their confidence doesn't come from the absence of risk, it comes from knowing how to navigate it. Knowledge reduces uncertainty. Think about driving. The first time you sat behind a wheel, you were terrified. Every intersection felt like danger. But after hundreds of hours of practice, driving became second nature. Did the risks disappear? Of course not. But your confidence grew with knowledge. Wealth works the same way. Investing, starting a business, building systems, these feel terrifying at first. But the more you learn, the more you practice, the less fear controls you. Knowledge shrinks uncertainty. Millionaires are relentless learners for this reason. They study markets, psychology, technology, and history. They prepare, so when opportunity appears, they can step forward boldly while others freeze. The shift from what if it fails to what if it succeeds. Most people sabotage themselves with one question: what if it fails? That question breeds hesitation. It fuels procrastination. It kills ideas before they ever breathe. Millionaires flip the question, what if it succeeds? That one shift unlocks possibility. It reframes risk from being a potential loss to being a potential breakthrough. Here's a drill you can use right now. The next time fear whispers, what if it fails? Answer with, what if it succeeds? And what would that success look like for me? Visualize it. Fail it. Anchor your mind on the reward, not just the risk, the tuition of failure. Here's the truth. Most people resist failure is tuition. Every misstep, every loss, every setback is payment for an education the classroom never offered. The wealthy see failure as data. If something didn't work, they extract the lesson, refine the system, and try again. Each attempt makes the next attempt smarter. Average thinkers see failure as identity. They say, I failed, therefore I am a failure. Wealthy thinkers say, I failed, therefore I learned. Which mindset do you think builds wealth? Michael Jordan missed more than 9,000 shots in his career. Thomas Edison tested 1,000,000 ways that didn't work before inventing the light bulb. Colonel Sanders had his recipe rejected over 1,000 times before someone finally said yes. Failure wasn't their prison, it was their path. Building educated confidence. So how do you build this millionaire-level confidence? 3 steps. 1, learn relentlessly. Read about markets. Study success stories. Learn from failures, both yours and others. Every page adds to your toolkit. 2, start small. Don't risk everything at once. Begin with small experiments. Invest a little. Test a side hustle. Build one system at a time. Confidence grows through practice. 3, reflect daily. At the end of each day, ask, what did I learn today that made me stronger for tomorrow? This reinforces growth and prevents failure from being wasted. Confidence isn't built in leaps, it's built in layers. Courage and calculated risk. The wealthy understand a crucial distinction, the difference between gambling and calculated risk. Gambling is blind. It relies on chance. Calculated risk is informed. It relies on study, preparation, and probability. When millionaires act, it may look bold to outsiders. But behind that boldness is a foundation of research and preparation. That's why they often appear lucky. They weren't guessing. They were ready. And here's the paradox. The more prepared you are, the bolder you can act. Preparation doesn't eliminate risk, but it builds the confidence to move forward despite it. Your relationship with uncertainty. Average minds wait for certainty. They want guarantees before they act. But certainty is an illusion. There will never be a moment when risk disappears. Millionaires embrassent uncertainty. They know growth lives on the other side of discomfort. They step into the unknown, not recklessly, but with clarity. They trust that whatever comes, they can learn, adapt, and adjust. That's the heart of educated confidence. Not I know I won't fail, but even if I fail, I'll find a way through. A challenge for you. Here's your challenge for this chapter. Write down one decision you've been delaying because of fear. Maybe it's starting a business, learning to invest, or sharing your idea publicly. Now, answer these 3 questions. 1, what knowledge could I gain this week to reduce uncertainty? 2, what is one small, low-risk step I could take immediately? 3, if this succeeded beyond my expectations, how would my life change? Sit with those answers. Feel the shift. That's educated confidence beginning to take root. Let's bring it all together. Fear shrinks, confidence expands. Knowledge reduces uncertainty. Millionaire-esque. What if it succeeds? Not just what if it fails? Failure is tuition, not a verdict. Confidence is built through learning, small wins, and reflection. Calculated risk is not gambling, it's informed courage. Certainty is an illusion. Clarity and preparation are your allies. The wealthy don't act because they're fearless. They act because they're prepared. They know that while fear never disappears, confidence can grow strong enough to outweigh it. Remember this, you don't need to eliminate fear, you only need to outgrow it. And every time you step forward with educated confidence, you're not just thinking like a millionaire, you're becoming one. Most people believe success is about luck. They say things like, he was in the right place at the right time, or she just got lucky with her business idea. But here's the truth. Millionaires don't rely on luck. They rely on systems. Systems are the invisible engines behind wealth. They take randomness out of the equation. They turn occasional wins into predictable results. And that's why, while most people stumble from paycheck to paycheck, millionaires build streams of income that flow, whether they're awake or asleep. Events versus systems. Average thinkers live in events. They celebrate the bonus, the raise, the big sale, but those are isolated wins, temporary and unreliable. Wealthy thinkers live in systems. They don't ask, how can I make money today, they ask. What system can I build so that money flows consistently tomorrow and the day after and the day after that? Here's the distinction. Events give you income once, systems give you income repeatedly. Imagine 2 people selling homemade candles. One sets up a booth at the farmer's market and spends all weekend hoping customers stop by. The other sets up an online shop, builds an email list, automates delivery, and partners with influencers. Who's relying on events? and who's building a system. That's the millionaire difference. Why systems win? Every time systems win because they leverage three forces. One, consistency. Systems produce results whether or not you feel motivated that day. Two, scalability. Systems grow beyond your personal effort by using automation, technology, or teams. Three, compounding. Systems stack results over time, turning small actions into big payoffs. The person who saves a little money once will quickly forget, but the person who sets up an automatic investment system keeps growing wealth while focusing on other areas of life. That's the difference between hoping for progress and guaranteeing progress. Millionaire examples of systems. Warren Buffett doesn't pick random stocks for fun. He has a disciplined system by undervalued companies with strong fundamentals. Hold for decades. Let compounding do the heavy lifting. Ray Kroc, who scaled McDonald's, didn't become wealthy by flipping burgers. He built a system of franchising and real estate ownership that multiplied far beyond one restaurant. Jeff Bezos didn't get rich selling a few books online. He built Amazon as a system of logistics, data, and technology that could adapt to sell almost anything. Systems are what separate side hustles from empires. How to build your first wealth system now. You might be thinking, but I don't have millions to build systems. That's the beauty. You don't need millions. You just need the mindset. Ask yourself these three questions. One, what can I automate? Bills, savings, investments, communication. Two, what can I delegate? Tasks someone else can do better or cheaper. Three, what can I replicate? A process that works once and can be repeated over and over. Start small. Maybe it's setting up an automatic transfer to a savings account. Maybe it's creating a repeatable routine for producing content. Maybe it's building a checklist for tasks you do often. Each small system compounds into predictability. The enemy of systems, randomness. Most people live at the mercy of randomness. Their income depends on whether the boss approves overtime. Their savings depend on whether they remember to set money aside. Their growth depends on whether they feel motivated. That's not wealth. That's chaos. Millionaires remove randomness. They build structures that enforce success even when they're tired, distracted, or unmotivated. They know discipline fails sometimes, but systems never forget. Think about it, which is more powerful, saying, I'll try to save money each month, or having an automatic draft that invests before you even see the paycheck. Systems beat willpower every time. Thinking in systems. To think like a millionaire, you must start asking new questions. Instead of, how can I make more money today? Ask, how can I create a system that keeps paying me tomorrow? How can I get more customers this week? Ask, how can I build a process that attracts customers every week? How can I stay disciplined? Ask, what system can I create so discipline is automatic? Systems turn wishes into structures, and once built, they make success inevitable. A story of two paths. Let me share a story. Years ago, I knew two friends who both decided to start fitness coaching. The first sold training sessions one by one, constantly hustling for new clients. The second created an online membership with recorded workouts, meal plans, and community support. 5 years later, the first was still chasing clients, burned out, and frustrated. The second had thousands of members paying every month. With a team running the system while he traveled the world, both were hardworking. Both had knowledge. The difference was simple. One built a system, the other chased events a practical challenge. Here's your challenge for this chapter. Pick one area of your life finances, career, or personal growth, and ask yourself, what system could I build here that would guarantee results in finances? Maybe it's automatic investing in career. Maybe it's a weekly networking system. In personal growth, maybe it's a daily learning system, like reading 20 minutes every morning. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for structure. Once the system is built, it will outperform motivation every time. Let's recap. Millionaires don't rely on luck, they rely on systems. Events are temporary, systems are permanent. Systems create consistency, scalability, and compounding. Small systems, built daily, lead to massive results. Randomness is the enemy. Structure is the solution. Remember this, systems make success predictable. They turn dreams into processes and processes into results. The average person waits for luck. The millionaire designs systems so they don't need luck. When you start thinking in systems, you stop chasing wealth and start engineering it. And that's when financial freedom becomes not just possible, it becomes inevitable. Here's a truth that may shock you. Your future wealth isn't hidden in one big decision. It's built in your small, repeated habits. Most people overestimate the importance of single events and underestimate the power of daily rituals. They think wealth comes from winning the lottery, landing a dream deal, or stumbling into a miracle investment. But millionaires know different. They know the real driver of wealth is not what you do once, it's what you do every day. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your habits. James Clear once said, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." And it's true. You can have the dream of financial freedom written in bold letters on your wall. But if your daily habits contradict that dream, you'll never get there. Millionaires create habits that align with their vision. Their mornings, evenings, and in-between hours aren't random. They're intentional. They know time is the ultimate currency, and they invest it with care, the morning advantage. Let's start with mornings. How you begin your day sets the tone for everything that follows. Average minds wake up late, scroll through social media, and rush into chaos. Wealthy minds wake up with intention. Most millionaires design their mornings around 3 pillars. 1, mindset. They feed their minds with something positive: reading, journaling, or affirmations. 2, movement. They activate their bodies with exercise, knowing physical energy drives mental performance. 3, mastery. They dedicate time to learning or working on their most valuable projects before the world interrupts. This isn't about rigid schedules, it's about priorities. The first hour of the day belongs to them, not to emails, notifications, or distractions. Small habits, big returns. Here's the magic small. Consistent habits compound over time. Daily learning. Many wealthy people read 30 minutes a day. That's over 180 hours a year, the equivalent of dozens of books, insights, and new ideas. Daily reflection. They spend a few minutes asking, what worked today? What can I improve? This simple ritual turns every day into a feedback loop for growth, daily saving and investing. Even at the start, they automate money into assets. They don't wait for extra cash. The habit comes first. The results follow later. You don't need giant leaps. You need daily steps in the right direction. The discipline of focus. Another millionaire habit is disciplined focus. While average people scatter their energy across endless distractions, the wealthy protect their attention like treasure. They live by the principle of controlled attention. They know that whatever they focus on expands, so they direct their attention to opportunities, solutions, and goals, not gossip, fear, or complaints. Here's a practical exercise. For 1 week, track where your attention goes. Every 30 minutes. Ask, am I focused on something that multiplies my future, or am I wasting it? The results will shock you. Then start eliminating the leaks. Evening rituals of the wealthy. If mornings create momentum, evenings lock in growth. Millionaires don't collapse into bed mindlessly. They close the day with intention. Common evening habits include reviewing goals and progress, writing down the next day's top priorities, gratitude journaling to keep a wealth mindset alive. This does two things. It clears the mind for rest, and it programs the subconscious overnight. When they wake up, they're already aligned. Habits around money. Wealthy people also have daily habits around money. They check their accounts, not obsessively, but with awareness. They study where money is going and whether it's aligned with their vision. Most importantly, they treat every dollar as a seed. Some seeds are consumed, yes, but many are planted to grow. This habit of directing money rather than letting money direct them is one of the sharpest distinctions between wealthy and average. Environment as a habit. Here's something most people miss. Your environment is also a habit. If your daily surroundings are cluttered, distracting, or filled with negativity, your results will reflect that. Millionaires design environments that support success. Their offices are organized. Their schedules are structured. Their circles are filled with people who inspire, challenge, and push them forward. Ask yourself, is your environment pulling you up or dragging you down? If you want millionaire results, design a millionnaire environment. Turning habits into identity. The most powerful shift is when habits stop being tasks and start being identity. En average personne says, I'm trying to save money. A wealthy thinker says, I am an investor. En average personne says, I'm trying to exercise more. A wealthy thinker says, I am someone who values health and energy. See the difference. One is effort-based. The other is identity-based. Millionaires don't just do habits. They become the kind of people who naturally live them. A challenge for you. Here's your challenge. Pick one habit from this list and commit to it for 30 days. Just one. It could be reading 20 minutes a day, reviewing your spending every evening, or writing down tomorrow's priorities before bed. Don't underestimate it. One consistent habit can rewire your identity, and once identity shifts, wealth is just a matter of time. So let's recap the millionaire routine. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your habits. Mornings set momentum. Evenings lock in growth. Small habits compound into massive returns. Focus is a discipline, and attention is treasure. Wealth is built not from random effort, but from consistent rituals. Habits shape identity, and identity creates destiny. Remember this, your daily habits are your future self in disguise. If you want to know where you'll be in 5 years, look at your rituals today. Millionaires don't wait for motivation. They don't rely on luck. They create routines that pull them towards success, day after day, until wealth becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Most people are terrified of failure. They see it as the end of the road, a sign they're not good enough, smart enough, or lucky enough. They avoid it at all costs. But here's the truth. Millionaires don't fear failure, they befriend it. Why? Because failure is never final. Failure is feedback, and feedback is information. The only difference between the person who quits and the person who becomes wealthy is how they interpret the fall. The average response versus the millionaire response. When average thinkers fail, they internalize it. They say, I failed, so I must not be cut out for this. They take failure as a reflection of their identity. When wealthy thinkers fail, they externalize it. They say, this process failed. My strategy didn't work. Time to adjust and try again. They see failure as data, not destiny. This subtle shift changes everything. One mindset collapses under pressure. The other builds resilience, adjusts course, and presses forward until victory. The law of persistence, Napoleon Hill called it, persistence, the ability to continue despite defeat. Every millionaire has mastered this law. Think about Thomas Edison. He didn't fail 1,000 times. When inventing the light bulb, he discovered 1,000 ways that didn't work. Henry Ford went bankrupt twice before building the Ford Motor Company. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job for lacking imagination. Each failure contained feedback, each setback trained resilience, and each comeback made the eventual victory more powerful. Failure as a training ground. Here's something most people miss. Failure is not a punishment. It's a training ground. Failure teaches humility. You learn you're not invincible. Failure teaches accuracy. You find out what doesn't work. Failure teaches patience. You realize real results take time. Failure teaches strength. You discover you can survive more than you thought. Millionaires don't chase failure, but they don't run from it either. They understand every attempt brings them closer to refinement. The bounce back factor. There's a psychological concept called resilience. It's the bounce back factor, the speed and strength with which you recover from setbacks. Average thinkers stay down. They lick their wounds, complain, and sometimes never try again. Wealthy thinkers bounce back faster. They allow themselves to feel disappointment. Yes, but they don't pitch a tent there. They get back up, armed with new data, and go again. The difference between staying down for 5 years or 5 days is often the difference between average and extraordinary. Failure as tuition. Millionaires also view failure as tuition. Every mistake is a tuition payment for the education you didn't get in school. Lose money on a bad deal. That was tuition. Launch a business that flops. Tuition. Hire the wrong person. Tuition. The cost of failure buys wisdom. And wisdom is the most valuable asset in wealth building. You can lose money, but wisdom stays. And with wisdom, you can make money back tenfold. Reframing defeat. If you want to think like a millionaire, start reframing failure. Instead of saying, this didn't work, I'm a failure. Say, this didn't work, but now I know what not to do. This reframe turns defeat into direction. It transforms a dead end into a detour. It keeps you moving when others stop. A practical example, imagine you start a side hustle, and after 6 months, you've made almost nothing. The average response, this was a waste of time. The millionaire response, now I've tested a product, gathered customer reactions, and proven what doesn't sell That knowledge is priceless for the next attempt, building an unshakable mindset. So how do you build millionaire-level resilience? Here are 3 practices. 1, detach identity from outcome. See failure as an event, not as who you are. You failed at something. You are not a failure. 2, expect resistance. Anticipate that things will go wrong. When setbacks happen, you won't be shocked. You'll be prepared. 3, translate pain into plans. Ask, what lesson is here? How can I use this? Then create a new plan immediately. These 3 habits turn obstacles into stepping stones. A story of 2 entrepreneurs. Let's imagine 2 entrepreneurs, Lisa and Mark. Lisa launches an online course. It sells poorly. She feels embarrassed, doubts herself, and never tries again. End of story. Mark launches a similar course. It sells poorly too. But instead of quitting, he interviews the few people who bought it. He learns what they liked, what they hated, and what they wanted more of. He adjusts the content, relaunches. And this time, ça triple. By the 3rd launch, he's running a 6-figure business. Same failure. Different response. Des frères destinés. A challenge for you. Here's your challenge. Write down the last 3 failures you've had. For each, answer these 2 questions. What was the feedback? How can I use it to improve my next move? Do this, and you'll begin to see failure not as a wall, but as a mirror showing you what needs to change. Let's recap. Millionaires don't fear failure, they learn from it. Average minds see failure as identity. Wealthy minds see it as data. Failure is tuition, training, and direction. Resilience is the bounce-back factor that separates success from mediocrity. Every failure can either break you or build you. It depends on how you respond. Remember, this failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the process. Every millionaire you admire today has walked through the fire of defeat. The only reason they stand tall now is because they refused to quit when others did. So the next time you stumble, don't whisper, I failed. Instead, declare, I just paid tuition, and I'm coming back stronger. If you look closely at every fortune, every empire, every success story, you'll find one common thread: value creation. Wealth doesn't appear out of thin air. It's not pulled from luck or lottery tickets. It's created when one person serves another in a way that solves problems, fulfills needs, or improves life. Money is simply the reward for creating value. Average thinkers chase money. Millionaires chase value. That's the difference. What is value? Really, value is not just a product, a service, or a paycheck. Value is the impact you create in someone else's life. If you help someone save time, that's value. If you help someone reduce stress, that's value. If you help someone earn more, live healthier, or feel happier, that's value too. The size of your income is tied directly to the size of the problems you solve. Solve small problems. Get paid small. Solve big problems. Get paid big. Millionaires understand this equation at a deep level. That's why they never ask, how can I get more money? Instead, they ask, how can I create more value? Why chasing money fails. When you chase money, 3 things happen. You become short-sighted, always hunting the next quick win. You become desperate, and desperation pushes opportunities away. You miss the bigger picture, failing to build anything sustainable. But when you focus on value, money begins to chase you. Opportunities open. People trust you. And success compounds naturally. Think about it. Nobody follows someone who screams, "Pay me now." But everyone follows the person who consistently delivers solutions, insights, or inspiration, stories of value creation. Look at Steve Jobs. He didn't just sell computers, he created value by designing tools that empowered creativity. Look at Oprah Winfrey. She didn't just host a talk show, she created value by giving people a voice, building trust, and spreading inspiration. Look at Elon Musk. He doesn't just build cars, he creates value by solving global energy and transportation challenges. These people became wealthy because their focus wasn't, "How do I get rich?" It was, "How do I change lives?" Service as a wealth multiplier. Here's something powerful: value grows through service. Service means putting others first. It means asking, "What can I give?" instead of "What can I get?" Millionaires are masters of service. They understand that wealth is just a byproduct of impact. Serve more people, help at a deeper level, and wealth follows naturally. It's like a magnet. The more value you give, the stronger the pull of money, opportunities, and partnerships toward you. The law of reciprocity. Human beings are wired for reciprocity. When someone gives us something of real value, we naturally want to return the favor. That's why companies that serve with excellence win customer loyalty, and why leaders who lift others rise faster themselves. Millionaires leverage this law. They build trust by serving first, knowing that the returns will come not instantly, but inevitably. Building a value mindset to think like a millionaire, you must adopt a value-first mindset. That means asking new questions daily instead of, "How can I make money from this ask?" "How can I serve better?" instead of, "How fast will this pay me?" ask, "How deep is the value I'm creating?" Instead of, "What can I sell?" ask, "What problem can I solve?" This shift changes everything. You stop competing with everyone else who is hustling for dollars, and you start standing out as the person who delivers what people truly want: value in everyday life. You don't need a billion-dollar business to practice this. You can start today. At work, go beyond your job description. Add value by anticipating needs, making things smoother, or mentoring others. In business, focus on customer experience. Ask, "What's one more way I can improve their life?" In personal life, serve your relationships. Add value through kindness, encouragement, and presence. Each act of value builds your wealth identity, whether it's financial or relational. The problem solver's path. Here's the simplest way to put it. Millionaires are problem solvers where others see obstacles. They see opportunities where others complain. They create solutions, and those solutions become businesses, movements, and legacies. Next time you encounter a problem, yours or someone else's, don't get frustrated. Get curious. Ask, "How could solving this create value?" That's how new income streams are born. A challenge for you. Here's your challenge for this chapter. Write down 3 problems you see in your daily life or your community. Then brainstorm 3 ways to solve each problem. Don't filter yourself. Just write. You may not execute all of them, but the practice rewires your brain to see opportunities instead of obstacles. Remember, money flows to solutions. Train yourself to see them everywhere. Let's recap. Millionaires don't chase money, they chase value. Value is impact. And impact multiplies. Wealth, service is the secret multiplier. The more you serve, the more you receive. Problems are not barriers. They are invitations to create value. Of value. First mindset attracts opportunities, trust, and abundance. So remember this, if you want to think like a millionaire, think in terms of service. Focus on how many lives you can touch, how many problems you can solve, and how much value you can deliver. Do that consistently, and money will stop being something you chase. It will become something you attract. You now know the truth. Millionaires don't wait for luck. They don't rely on chance. They think differently. They build habits, systems, and identities that make wealth inevitable. And here's the key. You can do the same. From this day forward, I think value first. Build habits that compound. Create systems that serve. Embrace failure as feedback. And above all, step into your millionaire identity, because the future belongs to the one who thinks and acts like wealth is already theirs. Now, don't just listen, apply. Pick one shift, one habit, one system, and start today. Tiny steps, daily. That's how transformation begins. And if this message hit you, if you're ready to reprogram your mind for wealth, success, and abundance, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Napoleon Hill inspired wisdom. Like this video if it gave you value, and share it with someone who needs to hear this right now. Remember, you are the architect of your destiny. Think rich, act rich, and watch your life transform. Because the moment you start thinking like a millionaire, you are already on the path to becoming one.